the other thing is, like, if I want a cookie, like I eat cookies, and I would tell you to be present with food and enjoy it. Absolutely flip and enjoy it. And when it stops being pleasurable, stop eating it. Like, that's the big thing, because there's a point where it's just not good anymore. Like, you can only eat so many Thin Mints before, like, they become gross or they stop tasting. And so that's the whole point. Like, don't be sitting in front of the TV. Don't be reading a book. Like, be present and enjoy the food. Taste the bites. Know what you've actually consumed. I probably said this the other day about, I've driven down the road eating a hamburger back in my sales days when you're trying to just grab lunch on your way to your next appointment. And I've consumed entire hamburgers and French fries and didn't know that I'd even gone, did I eat? And the only evidence is the wrapper in the bag. And like, that's, the brain and the body have to catch up with each other. And so, I can't state enough, like, sit down at the table. You have time. If you don't think you have time, that is a lie. Stop believing the lie and take the time to eat, digest, be present, enjoy the food that you eat. One of the things about when I moved to intermittent fasting is I absolutely insist on food being luscious and delicious. I am not putting food in my mouth that is subpar. I'm just not going to do it, because I'm eating 1, maybe 2 meals a day. By gosh, they are going to be luscious and delicious. I am not going to waste my time eating stuff that is not in that category. And like, I had a, years ago, like, food was such a hassle. And so, like, that was one of the things that I had to work on, was that feeling that food was such a hassle, that it annoyed me that I had to stop to take care of food, almost like the kid in the play box, the sandbox, who was frustrated that they had to stop and go to the bathroom. So, like, those become the things that we need to work on, right? Because that's the stuff that's coming up out of the heart. All right, I'm going to unmute y'all for just a minute. There's got to be an easier way to do this. Okay, any questions about that?
Hey, Tammy. So when you meal prep, or when you do eat, and you say you make quality and quantity choices, but you don't restrict yourself.
Right.
So I know how to stop when I'm full. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know how that feels when I get to that point, but it's like choosing, like, I have these category of bad foods and good foods.
Right.
And all the good foods don't really taste good. So I guess I want to know from you, like, what do you choose to eat when you say you're eating luscious things that you want? What is that?
So let me tell you one of the things that I realized, and again, I've gone through an hour, like, I think I need to make this a 2-hour class. So one of the things I realized is all of us have issues with vegetables. And I don't know if that's true for you, but like, you think about how many kids have fought at the table, and like, I had a little trauma event at the table around vegetables. And so I started, and I was going to do it later tonight, but I'm just going to give you the information because you can do it for yourself. The universal process was one of the last things that I used the other day when I was working with Nicole on the Diet Coke, where you like experience, and I probably did this with you, where you experience what the binge food is, and then you experience a vegetable that you like, and then you experience, like, because as crazy as it sounds, like, when you think about a binge food, like, you have a feeling about it. It has energy within you that you've created. And so you feel that, and then take a breath and then feel a vegetable, because you have attitude feeling just as much about spinach as you do about Tootsie Rolls, for instance. And so you do that 3 times, and then you experience both of those at the same time. like Tootsie Roll and spinach and Tootsie Roll, you would experience both of them at the same time, taking a breath, and then just look at where they are now in relation to each other. And you keep doing that until they go together. And so, and then I come back and I will do that with say that I'm just going to use Tootsie Roll because that's what I said earlier. Tootsie Roll and a vegetable that you discussed. Like, we all have a food that just like completely grosses us out. And again, you have a high charge for that. And so doing it against that, and then so 3 times, and then feeling them both simultaneously, and then watching them come together, what that did is it opened up all the vegetables for me. And so, like, I love roasted vegetables. Like, I'm perfectly happy eating Brussels sprouts and beets and sweet potatoes. And, like, I just chop those up and I put them in the oven and I just roast them. And, like, I'm perfectly happy with that. I'm a huge shrimp eater. And so, matter of fact, I just went to that storming crab or whatever on Kingston Pike, and, like, it's wonderful. The, and so, like, I was buying, I buy these 2-pound bags because they have Royal Reds. Who would have figured they have Royal Red shrimp at Costco? And so, like, I spent the whole summer eating shrimp and eating steamed vegetables. But that's really luscious and delicious to me. But I also, if I want a hamburger, because that comes up for me, I will only go to Drake's and get hamburgers because they have killer blue cheeseburger with crinkly fries. And I should probably not talk about food because that's going to trigger somebody. But I'm very purpose. If I want wings, then I'm going to go to Kahuna's and have them because they have really good wings. I would never waste a wing want on Buffalo Wild Wing, whatever that place is. Like, I'm very specific about where I go. But I also went by and got a pie at the pie Buttermilk Sky pie, I went and got
Mm-hmm.
one of those little pies and I had it and I enjoyed the fire out of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm like, that was a lot of information. I'm looking for my body and what feels good in my body because all of us are science projects, right? Everyone's DNA is different. And so what you're looking for is, when I eat this, I feel energized and alive. And when I eat this other thing, I feel awful. And so you naturally will start to eliminate those awful things because who wants to feel like that?
Right.
Right. And
Yep.
so same thing is for pizza. If I'm going to get a pizza, like, I'm most likely going to go to Tomato Head, or I'm going to go somewhere that I can get what I consider a quality pizza, that Knox pizza place, Hard Knocks. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to waste my time at Domino's. Like, that to me is a waste of time. Does that?
Yep. Nope. That makes great sense.
Okay. The other thing, just from fasting though, like, I can't eat large quantities of food anymore. Like, it just don't fit my stomach. So there's that too, which is helpful. But I also, like, pizza used to be a binge food of mine. I went and worked on that. And donuts used to be a binge food of mine. I worked on that. So, I don't think one is a problem. When I'm eating them by the dozens, that's a problem. So, I don't know where you were on the scale, right? But I'm the girl who went to 2 Krispy Kreme donuts and got multiple dozens because I didn't want anybody knowing how many donuts I was eating in one setting. So, I was all that. Any
Very
other
good.
questions, feedback? Cindy, you got anything before I go on? Okay.
No.
I'm going to put you on mute again. And I'm going to change that view around again. And I'm going to make that small. Okay. I just got to paw through this. So I'm going to talk about, so the thing about the AAIT work that I do, which is the acceptance and integration training, is that there are principles about it. And because there's got to be structure and there's got to be purpose. And so the first two that we did last week is the true self is not encumbered by the limitation of narrative. The true self is a being. And so that, the whole thing about, we're just not our story. And that's all it is a story. And being able to, because we didn't come in this planet with all that story. We've created it, or other people have created it for us. We are beings. And so coming back into our true self, who God designed us to be, rather than all this story narrative that tethers us to this earth, onto afflictions. Like, we want to be separated from that. Then taking responsibility for and tending to our state is the source of freedom. If you spent time around me, you will hear me say, if I respond to anything less than love and peace, then I go to work on it. And I became very mindful of my thoughts and my feelings. And that was my line, right? God is love, Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And so if I was responding to anything other than that, then I would make note of it and I would go and work on it, because that's my responsibility, to tend to my own heart. No different than I brush and floss my teeth. It is my responsibility to tend to my own heart. And then the new one we're going to add is resolving reactivity reveals higher states of consciousness. And so years ago, as my now ex-husband was creating a whole ton of drama in my life, I went to the prayer room at my church. And if you're not familiar with the practice, it is a place where 2 or 3 people will pray over you in regard to a particular issue in your life. And then prayerfully, they will respond to what they believe that the Lord has revealed to them. Well, there was a man that in that particular day that he received a vision of an eagle, and the eagle was fighting a snake in the air. And so in the natural, eagles do that. They want to fight the battle on their playing field rather than on the snake. I mean, you think about it, the eagle is vulnerable if he's on the ground. He isn't as strength when he is at, flying. But the snake, of course, is vulnerable in the air because he has to crawl with his belly on the ground. And so that, I didn't have AIT, I had EFT back then, but I was so reactive to everything, which is an understatement, to everything that was going on. I couldn't get past my pride and my ego and what was right, because I was all about what was right, in order to do what I would call play a higher game, to be able to be in this higher consciousness. And so, I logically knew, I mean, I had enough, scripture and God in me, that I logically knew that I was making things worse by my reaction. But it was so in my body that I just could not find a way to back down. And so often that's what happens with the food, is we're feeling really reactive. And so we eat. Our emotions, our anxiety, our fill in the blank is so intense that we fight back or retaliate, and in order to defend ourselves, which is an illusion, by the way. But then we eat to calm ourselves down, or we're afraid to speak up. So we stuff down our words, our feelings with food. And so I know I'm not the only one, but I teach the tools to deal with food cravings. But the bigger use of the tools is to manage your emotions, so you are able to be less reactive in the world. When you can operate from that state, when you operate from that state of not being tossed around all the time to and fro, then you don't feel out of control anymore, and it reduces stress and therefore the need to stress eat. It is about moving from the tree of fear over to the tree of life, trusting yourself, the world, and God, that no matter what, that you're going to be okay. Even in the middle of chaos, in your soul that you're still going to be okay. And when you operate from that